I want to see a world where I'm proud to see my kids live in. I want a world where we all trade, where we all engage, where we help one another. This is what we're going to bring you with Bitcoin. If we start thinking the people, the unbanked, the underbanked, we have half the world's population in need. Half the world's population who can be opened up to a bigger economy. Not that little pie, but a pie of size we have never imagined. A global expansion we have never imagined.
Once we have Bitcoin, when we have a digital world and we can buy and sell, I don't care whether someone works in Africa, in Sierra Leone, or works in the Seychelles, or works in Curacao, or works in Washington. I care about the quality of my goods and my services and what I'm being delivered. That's it. I want to be able to open a world where everyone can trade. I don't want Americans to trade. I don't want Canadians to trade. I want to see a world where the world trades, where we care about the individuals globally, where a poor guy in Africa can actually get an education and build web pages and make money, where anyone can. And we stop caring anymore that it's Australian made or UK made or Chinese made. We care about the fact that we're helping this world, not jingoistic crap, and there's no other way to say it but crap, about some politician sitting there going, we need to wave our little flag and help our national economy because my GDP figures don't look good and you're going to vote me out. We want an interconnected global world.
Well, where you can send money to people. Give it a round of applause. I think that's a great dream. I'd call that a win.
We are in the golden age. The first, the only, the most magnificent part of human history. The only time we have a chance to cure poverty. The only time we have a chance to open up the world to trade, to stop war, to stop all these things. We are in the richest, wealthiest, most productive part of human existence. Everything that is common now used to be a luxury. Toilets were a luxury 100 years ago. Victorian England, if you had a flush toilet, you were rich. Now, no one would buy a house in the West without a toilet. That's what capitalism does. That's what this does. That's what we're seeking. Tokens do better than free. You pay for the services you need, you trade anywhere. Imagine that poor guy in the middle of Venezuela who wants to earn some money and be able to live and trade and do something. Now they can write an article. Now they can design something and own the digital rights to it and have someone print it anywhere on Earth. That's what this is really about. The ability for anyone to get out there and do something and promote something of substance and to compete on merit. Not with government handouts, not with government subsidies, not because they inherited wealth, because they do it better. They work harder. They work smarter. That's what tokens will deliver. You want to live your own life and have your own kids and your own family. Build a future. One where you can pay for information straight away. One where you don't need to be afraid of corruption. One where you can be safe. Because if you're not safe, And if you have to put up with corruption, you're not free. I want this world better. I don't want equality, I want equity. I don't want to push someone down. I want to help people get up. I want them to have an opportunity to trade. I don't want to give people money. I don't want to hand them a fish. I want to teach them how they can be part of the world. That's what Bitcoin does. And if we look at China, when I was young, when I was in school, I remember we would see things about helping the Chinese people. The children are starving. We would see every day a new famine. But since then, I'm old enough to have also seen the country open up, to start to trade. I've seen China now grow in wealth. I've seen in villages in the west of China where people now have electricity and televisions. Something that wouldn't have ever happened until the country was opened up to trade. And in opening up China, it has become a global powerhouse. Not because they do things in China, but because they build things for the world. They build iPhones, they build cars, and they work. They create. Not because someone tells them what to create, but because they're allowed to. And over time, in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, we're not going to be in the same world we had before. It is going to be completely and utterly different. We don't want to have to play the same game. Banks are never going to be offering bank accounts to poor guys in Ghana. One of the things, I've talked about this one before, if people will listen, is I found incredibly cool, and people find this weird. When I went to places like the Philippines or Ghana, I would watch people build houses. They'd buy Besser bricks, they'd buy concrete, and they'd just build a little bit. And they'd build it sometimes over 20 years. And you can't sell a half-finished house, not for what it's really worth. You don't get your money back. It was a saving plan. And usually it was the wives who actually made it happen. The husband had to build it. But usually what happened was the wife would make the husband do this because otherwise he would go and drink it away and yeah. But it was a saving plan. So in 20 years' time, you have this larger house that now your bigger extended family can live in. It's saving. But Bitcoin's better. Bitcoin without caps, open to the world, is better. Not so that people can run their own node and run around going, I've got my own node. It matters that you have your own money. No one can take your financial freedom because you have your keys. We want to be able to have what we need wherever we are. This is a world that is becoming more and more global. That is a good thing. We can start trading anywhere, with anyone. As we start trading with people, we start building relationships and having to understand them. When we want to start actually understanding our customers in different parts of the world, then we start to be exposed to different culture, different ways of life, different ways of doing things. It opens us up and we all grow as people, as humans. We don't become so isolated and insular. But here's the point. We as humans, the question is, what world do we want to live in? What world do we want? I don't want a world run by numbers. I don't want a world where people controlled by machines do what they're told by machines. I want a world where we record so that we can hold accountable our fellows, so that people know what's in a bank, so that they know what's in their government. Cicero wrote that the blood, the sweat, the toil, the cost of war is printed on infinite money. And that's what we have in society. If we have money that we can print without ever coming back to something, then there's always a cost. We need to be able to hold accountable people for doing what they're promising to do.
If 100% of everything mines Bitcoin and controls Bitcoin, that's a security model that is hard, that no government can take over, no company can take over, no one takes over.
World trade from Africa is less than 1% of anything created in the US. Africa is poor not because we take stuff from Africa, it's poor because we don't trade with Africa. Nothing happens. We don't deal with them. And we can't deal with them because the people can't deal with us. I spent time in Ghana and I spent time in India. And I saw people, and they don't have money. They don't have goods. They don't have anything to be able to trade. That's the problem. And these are people who will wheel, deal, do anything to make money because they have families to support. Africa, it's a large country. It has massive opportunity potentially, except for one little problem. It doesn't produce anything.
I want this group of 1 billion and a bit people to go out there and trade with Americans, with the Europeans, with Australians, with Japanese. That's what matters. Not because you sell bits of cobalt to the Chinese and Americans and get it back again. Not because you don't manufacture here. Not because people like Tesla tell you you shouldn't invest in coal power plants because, well, that would enable you to actually smelt your own steel, smelt your own aluminium, smelt your own cobalt and sell it at higher rates, basically capturing profit that no one wants. I'm going to do it because you can actually capture things here. When your own markets enable global commerce, when your people can sell anywhere, and there are about 12 million people here. 12 million people's half of Australia. And yet you have resources that are needed. Rare earth metals are called rare earth metals because they are rare. And they're in extreme supply. And yet the value you get out of them is minimal. So I don't really care whether the people here like to hear this or not, but the fact of the matter is, if you want this country, if you want this region to really take off, then you need to allow people to start trading freely, openly. So basically this is very simple. Enable your country to be all it can. Not doubling every 10 years or less. This country should be growing far more. That's what I want to see. I don't want investment from you. I don't want anything like that. What we're here is basically to create technology that we're licensing, which, yes, helps me, but not because of the way you're looking at it, because I want to see everyone trade. That's it. Thank you.
We want to see a South America where people can sell everything they have for as much as they can, so that their families can get education, so that their children can live better. I want to see that extra few percent so that people know where to go to get a little bit more, so that they can build wealth. Not another ICO that does nothing, but to be able to sell their crops in a tokenized market, so that cocoa farmers, even the small ones, can come out around South American crops and sell to large American companies, large British companies, large Asian companies ahead of time, knowing that they have to meet certain quality standards because it'll be in a contract they have to meet, and knowing what they need to do, knowing what they can do to hedge, so that they can go out there on real exchanges and sell their produce.
But this is what Bitcoin really is about. Bitcoin is a value network, a global way of opening trade. Bitcoin is there to enable you to create
the next wave of global commerce. Thank you. Economic game theoretic systems. This is what Bitcoin is about. It is economic. We don't want one. We want a world using Bitcoin. That simple. We want it secure, and we want it able to be used between many people. And we can actually do that right now. If we get away from the idea that every single person needs to run a bloody Raspberry Pi and start scaling, then we get real financial sovereignty for everyone. Not manipulated money, not altered money, real, hard, free currency. And that's what this is about. We're going to get rid of corrupt governments. We're going to let everyone have a voice, no matter how poor, how isolated, how anything. Everyone has a voice. I don't care if you don't like me. I don't care if you don't like my vision. As long as you argue it properly, not by going and attacking, but by building something better. If you want to build something better and you want to compete with me, please do. I welcome it. If you can beat me, I'll be proud. Why? Because if you build a better system than I do, you've created a better world than I will.
The fact that you can go back and alter a record 5, 10 years down the track has been the source of many, many frauds and problems throughout history. Enron being one, many changes. We look at the Madoff sort of Ponzi that we had. All of these things were not possible with Bitcoin. So that's a different view of the world. So that's a valid use. See, what we don't want is Bitcoin helping to fund crime. We don't want anonymity. But if we can make it private enough to vote securely in a democratic election, that's good. Let people choose. Create different templates. Isn't that what building is all about? Not me telling you how to do it, but here are the rules of the game. Create stuff.
That's what I want to see from mining industries. I want to see them become real corporations that people respect. I want to see, when you look out there on the harbour, instead of seeing a whole lot of towers owned by banks and others, I want to see the name of miners. I want to see mining companies running global corporations that people respect, the way people used to respect bankers. We want you to be able to build a global, scalable industry that you can hand down to your grandchildren and do it proudly. That's the future of mining, the future of Bitcoin that I see. Not one where you create a proof-of-stake empire and the few right at the top now get to run it all. We scale big. Then no one stops it. No government stops it. No company takes control. We scale, we win. Scale, growth and vision. We need to scale. We need real leadership. There should be no king in Bitcoin. There will be no king in Bitcoin. We are a community, and it is time we start acting like one.
I did things like ensuring money got to Uniting Burnside because I had a single mother. And that was the charity I cared about. I cared that they had enough money, because what I see is not Christian or Muhammad or Buddha or whatever else. I don't really care. I think people should believe in something, in a world, in an honest world, in an open world, in an embracing world. And we can only do that through stewardship.
Imagine that we have every single integrated circuit on a board collapsed down into a hierarchy, basically a tree chain type idea, with a single figure at the end. That figure cryptographically proves the entire system of everything in your laptop you've just bought, forever. If someone steals a RAM chip, it is no longer the same. If someone exchanges a hard drive, it is no longer the same. Imagine that we could track it. Why would you steal something when, if you steal it, everyone knows where you stole it from? Ownership that follows you globally forever. Proof of sale forever. Imagine if every one of you sees something wrong and you can report it, and no corrupt government can stop you. Imagine a world where you can post pseudonymously a picture of someone taking a bribe, and it can go as immutable evidence into a court, and that person can be prosecuted. Think what happens to corrupt societies when everyone sees what happens. It's a world of sunshine. Sunshine is the best disinfectant. It cleans up all the corruption. When we have people able to start their own business, people able to protect their own property, other people able to help engage in protecting each other, we become better. I want to keep fighting to make Bitcoin global. Everything it should be, everything it can be. I want to see everyone easily using their money without having to fear it being taken by another government or debased or anything else that we commonly see as a problem with money. That's why I keep working. I want the original promise of Bitcoin to remain. Future, we want to increase revenue streams. Everyone, and I mean everyone, should be making money here. We want to ensure that we have transaction and custodial-based revenue. Not us, everyone. This is a big, big potential industry. This is something that is global in nature. We are getting there. We're nearly at 10. 10 years. We should be competing with Visa now. Not later, not whatever else, now. It is coming up on 10 years. That is 1,000 times the scale. And we are not growing. $30 billion is not big. $30 billion is pissant. That dot there, Bitcoin, when that dot there is everything, we have succeeded. And only when it is everything. Thank you. There is not going to be some great leader standing above. It is not going to be what Core tried to do with Nick. There is not going to be one person that we come and answer to. It will be the best ideas, the best solutions. Not because you think they're the best, because the market does. And the market votes with their dollars. And eventually, the market is going to vote with their bloody Bitcoins.
You deal with people because you interact and you deal with people as people. Not because you dictate what they have to do, like government does, but because you interact as a human, as a person who wants to give. Not because you necessarily care what the butcher's family does, or the baker's, but you interact and you're friendly. And
we, the people of this world want freedom. We, the people of this world, want to trade. We, the people of this world, don't want to be oppressed. We want to have privacy. We, the people, want to be able to know that our children will be safe. And he wrote about how Japan needed to open up and have trade with the West, that we need to work together and it will build a big, strong country. And we need to work together and build a big, strong Bitcoin. It doesn't matter whether we like each other, whatever else, we're all in the same boat. We are not here to try and stifle Bitcoin. We want Bitcoin to be the financial sovereignty and security mechanism for the world. It is not just censorship resistance. We get that by being big. If 5 billion people are using Bitcoin, there is no censorship.
how about we tokenize the transfer of goods? We watch things as they move back and forwards. We start them moving across the network, and we know when they're going to be there so that we can actually save money. Not only now for Toyota, everyone, anywhere, knowing that your goods are actually on the way to you, knowing that you need a replacement, being able to trace, track, and find. Think of not the way Uber works for delivery with little pictures of where the things are, but every good that you need for your business, knowing that if something gets lost, delayed, whatever else, you can find it. Imagine what that does for an economy. Finding that you're not going to have to make excuses to customers because you know exactly where your goods are. And if they are held up, you can get another one from somewhere else beforehand. Factories of the future are not going to be what we have now. We are going to see manufacturing more and more automated. Like it or not, robotics is here to stay. And in 20 years' time, if you're a factory worker, I'm sorry, you need a different job. You have 20 years or you're not going to have anything. Reskill. There is a long time to find many, many different things to do. It's the same if you were a gleaner or a farrier or any number of other jobs in the last 100 years that have totally disappeared. That's what's going to happen again. We're going to start delivering bespoke solutions. That means order things the way you want, not just because you have money. We've always had the ability for bespoke solutions, if you had enough money. In the future, it'll be anyone, anything they want. We're getting a richer world, a more connected world. This is what we're aiming to deliver.
So what I want people to start thinking about, and you don't need to be really technical to do this, think about ideas about how you can allow people to connect better. Think about ideas about how you can allow people to trade better. Every time you go down a street and you see someone in difficulty, think about if we did this type of app, we could make their life easier. Think about how we can incentivize people to help the elderly. Kids get maybe a little bit of money. And if we have an immutable evidence trail, then we're not going to have to worry about trust so much because we can ensure that the people are protected, that evidence exists if anything goes wrong, which means it won't go wrong. If we can start protecting ourselves using technology, if we can show what's happening, then we can trust more.
We can now take all of that knowledge and do one on-chain. Much better. No having to trust whether the records haven't been tampered with. No having to go back over time and hope that it's all good. Bitcoin makes an internet where pages are valued because they're good. People are willing to pay not for flame wars, but content. The best content wins. That is important. So we want people to commercialise use of the internet so that they can charge based on value. That lowers the cost of good content. It doesn't make it more expensive. Good content becomes cheaper. Right now it's expensive. Right now, good content is drowned out by the crud. The crud that is incentivized by Google. The crud that is incentivized by Facebook. The crud that is incentivized by Twitter. We want that gone. Why? Because we want quality. We want people interacting with people. So that changes the nature of the world. If we can start holding people accountable for what they do, it changes the world. If we want a world that we want you guys, for your children when they come, to live in, we have to be accountable. That's what stewardship's about. That's what the word means. So that's my vision. I want a world where people can be private, can live their life, and be safe. And how they do that is they can interact with people. Not because machines are going to run us all. And yes, I'm a techie. And yet, one thing I'll tell you, people matter more. Thank you.
Think of the people on the fringes who we can help. Not by charity, not by government handouts, but by giving them opportunities. Think how we can actually make everyone's lives a little bit better, not by handing something to them, but by giving them dignity. I want to see a South America that is free. For too long, this continent has been oppressed. Hundreds of years, people have oppressed people here. They have used lies, they have used slavery, and it's time for all of us to say it ends. It's time for us to allow the smallholder to have a future. It's time for us to educate each other. It's time for us, all of us, not to want to be the same, but to be a society where we accept people no matter how different they are, where we don't shout them down as trolls, because we can now put a cost on doing that, but we allow people to communicate and talk. No matter how bad their ideas might seem, they have a right to say them. Because if we don't show what people are saying, if we don't do that, we're not going to be free. So what we're going to actually create is a replacement for the internet. The internet becomes a sidechain. I don't care how, as a peer network, you distribute your data. I care that you distribute it. If you have hand cache, or near field, or IP, or private networks, or X25, it's a value network. The entire global system connected commercially. We have small goals. We don't think of big things in Nchain. It is one central global network of miners. And it is central because there is one internet, one metanet, all in competition. Not controlled, stable. Not dictated, competed. One network that they can call central all they want. I don't care. One source of truth. One light system. One system that cannot lie. One system with records that once registered, there's no Enron changes ever again. You register the real set of books, everyone knows. A system that allows automation of auditing. So we want certainty. We want smart contracts as a service. We want people developing things that you're going to do. We want that. We don't want to keep changing the protocol. We want business to use the protocol. We want people like Walmart to realise that the average $3.20 US EDI transaction, where Walmart alone puts $1.4 trillion US worth of EDI transactions every year, can be done instead of $3.20 average for half a cent. That's the world I see, where miners take that half cent on all those transactions. People like Walmart give a shit about efficiency. They care about profitability. If you deliver a stable platform that will be here in 10 years' time, and they need to report for 12 years on their EDI transactions without change, and you take the cost and you decimate it, you have a customer. You have people wanting to use your product. I want Bitcoin to be the layer that anything talks to anything. I want cars on a highway that have automated systems to buy charging, find where the charger is, and find their route there based on a protocol in Bitcoin. I want everything to be Bitcoin. Not I want Bitcoin on the internet. I want to replace the internet with Bitcoin. So using a subset of the Bitcoin ledger, which is global, only decrypting each area you want to print a report. The same way something like Oracle works right now, except you don't have a server. I don't know, I think that's probably valuable to a few people. A database that can't be changed. A set of accounts that the government can audit without bothering you. Imagine, the audit happens and you get a thing going, we've audited you and it's over. Thank you. Next year we'll do the same and we'll tell you after the fact with a letter. Have a nice day. I think that's good.
Using on demand. Imagine, instead of owning a car, when Google cars come, why would you want to own one? When, instead of having to pay for parking, the thing can pull up, drop you off, drive off, and service other people. That makes it more efficient. If that car is working basically 27 hours a day, around the clock, picking people up, dropping them off, putting pizzas in the back when it needs to do, not sitting in a garage, not parked in town, earning some garage operator $80 or £80 a day, that's what a token starts to do. When you can actually sell something and when you can actually use it and have an economy that is based on this, that's the idea. Bitcoin is a payment system. It is cash. It is to be used to help people spend money. Those in places like South America, South Africa, places without banking, people can actually spend and use, not hoard so that in 10 years they can go, look, I've got more of something that I can hold. Spend, use, top up, review, save. You know, the thing that money is supposed to be used for. Exchange, trade. Capitalism isn't democratic, but it is free. It is free because my $1 has the same rights as his $1. If I'm a billionaire, my dollar has the same rights to a pack of gum as his dollar. If I'm a pauper, my dollar has the same rights to her dollar. That's what it is. That's freedom. Not because I can be equal and force other people to do things, but the truth that it matters that I can actually have my money, not have it eroded by inflation, which is a big one. And that's a huge one. We need to think about what Bitcoin can do, not what we think it is attacking, not that it will break things, not that we tear down society. I'm not like many cypherpunks. I don't want to burn anything down. I want to build. I don't really care if banks exist or don't. I care that they're honest. I care that people have access to money. I care that businesses have access to equity.
Think how we can give people back their dignity. Think how we get a society where people want to be part of it, where they want to work harder, where they want to work to clean the streets, where they want to make everything better. That's my vision. That's what I hope to build. That's what I see as freedom. Thank you.
We're going to make sure, not that we have a group of followers. I don't want followers. I want leaders. I want people who will grab ideas and run with them. And we will help. We will help with code, with IP and all the rest. And Stefan's nodding there. And we're already doing that with a few organisations. And no, I'm not going to tell you who they are quite yet. Assignment. If we can start trading these things, think of what insurance becomes when we start housing around the world. I want to own a percentage in Sydney, a percentage in Brisbane, a little bit in New York, somewhere in a Cherokee territory, somewhere in London, because in diversifying my portfolio, I decrease my risk. I decrease my risk of something happening to any of the properties, of someone defaulting, of someone going bad on their loan. And I can automate this, not in hierarchies of CDOs that no one can ever understand that are probably 100 million pages long, but in something that I can click a button and actually have an answer from an automated system. That's what Bitcoin will give us. Bitcoin you use, Bitcoin you spend with, Bitcoin as a cash platform, like it was always designed, that matters, because then you have value. When you trade with people, that's about value. Both people win in any exchange. No one exchanges freely unless they both see value. When two parties exchange goods or money or services or whatever else, they do it because one values the thing they have versus the thing the other person has more, and the same both ways. So there is no universal price for everything. There is a price I will pay and the price you will pay, and they always differ subjectively. So tokens deliver that to us. They allow us to get there. They allow us to start thinking of a way of doing new business, of having on-demand services, of staying in hotels or staying in Airbnb type places, of staying wherever we want, of buying goods, services, using things, going on a holiday. What are we looking at? We've got all these things in travel. Travel is a nice, easy industry. Amazon releases something to a courier. That courier travels, delivers it to me. How about if every single track, every trace is always there? Not, I've bought a laptop, but I know which particular serial number I get. I have everything recorded. I know if someone takes my thing and tries to sell it in a pawn shop, anywhere on earth. That's what tokenization will deliver. Not, I want to raise another ICO. Imagine a world where there's real end-to-end tracking, tracing, commerce, sales, everything. Where 20 years from now, if someone's stolen your phone, ever turns it on again, you have evidence that will stand up in court. That's what tokenization should deliver. We want money. One money. One money that does everything. Not controlled money, not the government money. Money that is fixed, that doesn't change. One of the reasons that the gold exchange standard didn't work and why they don't like pegged money and why they don't tell you is because it's honest. Governments can actually raise bonds against Bitcoin. Governments could run a Keynesian system against Bitcoin. They can loan money. Nothing stops you loaning money because you have Bitcoin. That simple. They did it with a gold standard. It's not going to be fixed. The difference is, when the gold standard started, they had a peg of initially it was 95 cents. Then by 100 years ago, it was 25 cents in the dollar of the actual gold. And when Nixon ended it in 71, anyone know how much of the actual gold was in the vaults? 5%. 5%. Yay! That's gold standard, because you can bullshit and lie. Bitcoin, you don't get to. Everyone can check your reserves. So when the politician goes up and goes, state of the nation, we're going really well, guys. Don't worry about this. It's only your grandkiddies that are going to be screwed. You know they're lying. And if politicians, they're lying, they're incentivized not to. Bitcoin is an incentive scheme. Everyone say that? Bitcoin is an incentive scheme. That's the key. That's why it works. That's why people don't do stupid things. What we want and what nChain wants from all this, and that's Jimmy over there, we're going to help you build. So, thank you.